on this platform at the 70th anniversary of the liberation, and he said these words: "We don't want our past to be our children's future." Let me repeat that again. We don't want our past to be our children's future. Roman Kent died 6 years later, but his words haunt us today, because if Roman Kent were here and saw what was happening to the Jewish people around the world in 2025, he would cry. It's hard for us to believe what we see today, the sudden violence of hatred against Jews, the singling out of the one Jewish state with huge demonstrations shouting anti-Semitic slurs everywhere. This is hard for us to watch, any of us, but I cannot imagine what it must be like for the almost 50 survivors here who are with us today. What Roman Kent said, and all of you lived through, we are watching right now in front of our eyes. Earlier, you heard Tova Friedman tell a story of watching children separate from their parents and taken to gas chambers. We know that 1.5 million children were killed in the Holocaust, the most heartbreaking number in an ocean of heartbreak. But 15 months ago, not 80 years ago, we saw Jewish children slaughtered once again for one reason: because they were born Jewish. In a very fundamental way, what happened in Israel on October 7th and what happened here at Auschwitz have one common thread: the age-old hatred of Jews. On January 27th, 1945, when the Red Army entered these gates, the world finally saw where the step-by-step progression of anti-Semitism leads. It leads right here. The gas chambers, the piles of bodies, and the horrors within these gates. But what led up to the Holocaust's final outcome? It began slowly. First, when Jews were singled out in universities, excluded from jobs, with boycotts and attacks in the media. Yes, it began slowly. And then it happened all at once. Throughout the 1930s, the hatred against Jews may have been ignited by Hitler in Germany and Austria. But in France, Italy, even England and the United States, there were strong forces that supported this hatred. France had Marcel Boucard, Jacques Doriot, and Francois Cody. England had Oswald Mosley. Italy had Mussolini. And the US, there was the German Bund. Henry Ford was a huge anti-Semite, as were Father Conklin, and believe it or not, even Charles Lindbergh. Today, we see eerie parallels throughout the world, throughout Europe, North America, even Australia. Jewish students have been singled out and threatened in universities. Today, Jewish professors have been fired. Today, Jewish children have been told to hide any outward signs of being Jewish. Today, there are mass demonstrations against Jews. Today, we see vile comments all over social media. Need I remind you, this is not 1933 or 1939. This is 2025. The hatred of Jews had its willing supporters then, and it has them now. You can't be Jewish or non-Jewish and not be concerned with what you see all around us today. But here, at these gates, we are forced to face one great question when we tell the story of Auschwitz. Everyone knows what happened here, but no one seems to know why it happened. Yes, it was a step-by-step process. It was aided by those who hated Jews. But it was advanced by the indifference of people who thought they were not affected by anti-Semitism because they were not Jewish. It was the world's silence that led to Auschwitz. When Hitler heard that silence after Kristallnacht in 1938, he knew he could do anything he wanted with the Jews. Kristallnacht may have been on page 1 of some newspapers, but it quickly disappeared. World leaders said nothing. On my first visit here at Auschwitz, I was accompanied by a famous survivor, Elie Wiesel. We were walking away from the gas chambers, and the sun was setting. Elie paused for a moment, and then he said something I will never forget. You know, he said, most people think the opposite of love is hate. It's not. It's indifference. Today it's the same story. Silence, indifference, and the exception of this hatred. So today, all of us must take a pledge to never be silent when it comes to anti-Semitism, or for that matter, any other hatred. These lessons for Auschwitz are not just for Jews, they're for the entire world.